have a formation, or exactly what was the purpose of the people walking behind the van?
There were other people that were passing out candy along the way at certain points. I was mainly just taking pictures as we went.
Okay. And was that part of your duty, is to kind of take pictures of the whole environment, what was around you, and kind of your perspective from walking in the parade?
Yeah, part of one of my friends from the group, her younger son was in the basket of the Remax van, so I was taking pictures of him and the other younger boy.
Did there come a time when you, in the parade route, that you started hearing something unusual going on behind you?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever hear anything that caused you to look back?
No.
So what do you remember about, at some point, were you struck?
Yeah, that's the first point that I knew that anything was happening, was when I was hit. There wasn't any commotion or noise until right at that moment.
Okay. So can you tell the jury what you recall of that moment, if you will?
I just remember being struck by the vehicle from behind, like on my back, and then I fell to my knees and kind of rolled under the vehicle, and when after it happened, I guess I didn't really know, I thought that somebody would have stopped after that point, and when I looked up, I just remember the vehicle continued.
Do you recall anything about the vehicle, like a vehicle description, what color it was?
It was a red SUV.
And when you said that the vehicle, you thought it would have stopped, did you see the vehicle stop?
No.
Did you see any brake lights on the vehicle?
Not that I can recall.
The objection is noted. It's overruled. Will you restate your answer, please?
No.
Okay. And I should have maybe clarified, did you see any brake lights activated after, when you looked up from being hit?
No.
Now, where were you in relationship to the float when the car struck you? Were you immediately behind the float? Do you recall?
I was probably a couple of yards back from the float, but I was behind the Remax van, yes.
So would it be fair to say that you were more in the middle of the road versus on the left or the right side of the road?
Yes.
And when you looked up after being struck, did you see the path that the car took, or the SUV?
It veered to the left side of the van that was in front of me.
And then did you see where it went after that?
It just continued, but I couldn't, the van, I couldn't see anything beyond that, no.
As you saw the car after it struck you, so what you're saying, I just want to make sure I've got this right, is prior to the vehicle striking you, you never looked back before it struck you?
Correct.
So you didn't know what hit you at the time that you were struck?
Correct.
And when it went past you, how fast was it going? And I'm not really talking about how many miles per hour, but was it at a slow speed, a medium speed? How would you describe it for the jury?
Hearsay.
Overruled. Go ahead and answer.
I would guess probably maybe 20 miles an hour.
And I'm assuming that you drive a car daily.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've been driving for 10 years, more than 10 years?
More than 10
okay.
years, yes.
Thank you. Did you ever hear a horn coming from the car prior to you being struck?
No.
Did you hear a horn coming from the car, or horn noise coming from the car after you were struck?
No.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 15. It'll again be on the screen. And would you generally characterize this, and it can be displayed, it's already been admitted into evidence.
Yes, permission to publish once again is granted.
Generally speaking, do you recognize this as the parade route? If you look in the upper right part of the screen, there's like a purple line that kind of goes down White Rock Avenue, takes a right, and it goes down Main Street. Does that look familiar?
Yes.
And that would be the route of the parade that day?
Yes.
And direct your attention to approximately shortly after Main and Barstow. There's a star, a yellow star, and then if you connect that line to the yellow star, it says your name and Remax Services. Do you see that?
Yes.
Would it help if we zoomed in, or you can see it from there?
I can see it.
Okay. Why don't we zoom in a little bit so maybe the jury can see it? I don't know how familiar you are with Waukesha, but the roads are kind of a little crazy. And would that accurately reflect where you were struck?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. After you were struck, what did you observe of the parade route?
I mean, it was very chaotic. There was people at that point that began like running and screaming to either help others or flee from the area. There was like a group that like came to me and like helped me over to like the side of the road.
Were you able to walk?
No, my knee was injured, so.
What did you do once, or what happened after you got to the side of the road?
Initially, the people that had came to me helped me sit in a chair on the side of the road, and then eventually, moments later, they moved us into the building that was right there, which was the Smart Asset Realty.
And that's also in the area, I think it's reflected on Exhibit 15, that would be in the area of where you were struck?
That's correct, yes.
What did you do once you got into the Smart Asset Realty building?
I mean, there was several other people that were in there as well. And I sat there and waited. There was a nurse or someone that had like some medical experience that kind of like looked at me, and then I waited until later on when I was, there was a police officer that came back and escorted me to the hospital.
So the police officer transported you to the hospital?
Correct.
Was that Waukesha Memorial Hospital?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 20. And I'm going to ask you, it'll just be in front of you initially. I'm going to show you a couple seconds of that and ask you if that's, if you recognize what's contained in that video. It is a 3-second video, so I'll actually show the whole thing to you before we ask that it be admitted and published. So why don't you take a moment to view that? Is it on the screen in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. Did you recognize that video?
No, I had not seen that before.
Do you recognize, though, what took place in that video?
Yes.
Can you describe to the jury what you just saw?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
Brown.
It's not hearsay.
It was a video of the events that took place that day where I was struck by the vehicle.
I would ask the court to admit this exhibit into evidence and also to allow the state to publish it. It'd be Exhibit 20.